Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey is always top shelf. Whether you got your start as a Dynasty veteran, a Millbury survivor, or you were born into the Church of Trotz, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, here are your eclectic hosts, Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Monday, March 1st, 2021. Coming at you live from the Hockey Night in New York studios on Long Island. Big show coming up for you tonight. Mr. Joe Yerdon, Buffalo Sabres insider, will be joining us to talk plenty of Sabres because the Islanders are going to be seeing them quite a bit this week. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me, as always, is Mr. Christian Arnold. Christian, how are you?
I'm doing well, Shawnee. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good because the Isles had a very good week, pal. And I'm happy that my 6 out of 8 points prediction was wrong. It was 7. How about that? How do you like them apples?
It was good? No, I mean, we were both wrong.
It's great that you're here. It's great that you're here.
I don't know if you're directing that at me or what. I don't know whose apples you were taking. I don't know.
Oh, okay, great. So, thanks for joining us here at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. I want to remind everybody we are happily sponsored by Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Please head on over for great food, great people, and fantastic service. And you can check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com. We're also sponsored by Tide Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. If you're tired of dealing with long hold times and the impersonal service of companies like Spectrum, Optimum, and Verizon, give Tide Technology a call at 516-856-7800 for 3 free months of service.
You know, I just didn't know if you were talking to me.
Buddy, you don't have to explain yourself. It's okay. Who else would I be talking to? You're literally the only other person here.
Well, it could have been just talking to the audience, breaking that fourth wall.
Well, we're clearly talking to them too.
I'm just saying.
Buddy, we're just getting started here. You better get it together.
Wasn't clear who
we got a big show here. Islanders are playing well. We need you at high performance as well, and you're off to a bad start.
It wasn't like you were trying to prove a point to me because neither one of us got that prediction right.
No, it was more the general, how do you like them apples? They got 7 out of 8 points. Don't take it so personal, man.
I'm not taking it personally.
Christian's breaking down here, folks. I apologize. Live on air. This is rough. You gotta pick it up, man. All right. Let's get into it here, pal. So, near perfect week, 7 out of 8 points. I didn't predict that.
No, you didn't.
So I'm not taking credit for it. But like I said, happy to be wrong. They smoked the Bruins. They finally got revenge on the Penguins. And they currently sit tied with Boston for second place with 26 points in the East Division and 2 behind Washington. What do you say, CA?
It was a big week, especially those points against the Pittsburgh Penguins with them coming in to Long Island. Good game on Sunday night, obviously, with the kids really leading the way there. That was a huge moment for the Islanders organization.
Yes.
And a big picture kind of view because you had Ilya Sorokin playing phenomenally in net. You had Noah Dobson playing phenomenally on defense, and Oliver Wahlstrom, who's really kind of come into his own enough where Islander fans are feeling pretty good about themselves to almost say he's better than Alexis Lafreniere, which I found interesting. And
I mean, I guess at this very specific moment in time, that's true.
Everyone's feeling good about the Islanders right now. And Wahlstrom and those three should absolutely be commended for the way they played on Sunday. Saturday, obviously, the Islanders get the point, but they let the 2 points slip away there with the third period lead slipping away as well. So, and then obviously a big game against the Boston Bruins, who they've continually dominated again this year, which is surprising to say the least. The way
things that you probably didn't see coming.
Oh, 100%. Did not see that coming.
Yeah, but we'll take it here in Islander country.
Yes, Islander fans will absolutely take it, and like you said, it's certainly points are points, and that is going to be crucial. We've talked about it all season long, and it continues to be the theme of the year for the Islanders and Barry Trotz, because at the end of the day, the Islanders need as many points as they can get because it is neck and neck and neck and neck and neck for the 4 spots in the Eastern Division.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and they couldn't have turned it on at a better time. And, you don't want to get ahead of yourself, but you look at the schedule and you see who's coming up, and more bankable points if they keep playing the way they're playing.
As long as they don't fall into that trap of getting into that mindset that
playing down to your opponent.
You just looking at the opponent and taking it for granted. because the Buffalo Sabres, even though they are going through a lot of turmoil, to say the least,
which we will be talking to Joe about,
absolutely should not be taken lightly. The New Jersey Devils are a competitive team. They should not be taken lightly. So there are obviously points to be had in these upcoming games, these 4 upcoming games for the New York Islanders, but at the same time, you don't want to fall into the trap of, because they're playing Buffalo, because they're playing New Jersey, these are games that they should have, that they will have automatically, because that's just not the mindset that's going to win you hockey games or pick up points in the standings.
It's still the NHL, Christian.
So shame on you for even suggesting it, Sean.
Hey, man, I'm just calling it like it is, okay? Just calling it like it is. We got to get it together here, man. We got to find some peace, all right? So we can get this show going.
Isn't that what we've been doing the last 5 minutes?
I don't know, man. I don't know. So let's talk with some general stuff here. The Islanders remain the only team in the NHL undefeated in regulation at home at 7-0-2. And with that in mind, Christian, we touched on this a little bit with Kinger last week, but does this kind of, and I don't want to make fans upset over this, but does this kind of maybe downplay the whole home fan advantage situation where you look at not only the Islanders but other teams across the league that have had a lot of success at home, and does it come more down to the stuff like having the last change and being able to wait for the other team to put their stick down on the face-off, like little advantages like that give you the upper hand over the course of things that actually matter in the game rather than, how loud the fans are in the crowd.
I think it just changes what the home ice advantage means. And I think that when you look at what's been going on in the National Hockey League and when you look at how teams are playing on the road compared to at home, I would imagine more or less that it's not an indication or an indictment on the idea that having passionate fans in the building don't necessarily make a difference on the ice, but rather it is a sort of extension of having a little bit of normalcy, because when you're home, you can have your routine a lot more, which is the biggest thing for these guys. It's not necessarily the fans in the building. It's not necessarily this or that. It's having your routine and being able to stick to it, especially in the era of COVID when there are so many different new quirks every game day that you have to adhere to and abide by. So I think being able to have that routine that's more normal to what you're used to doing, having a little bit more freedom when you're at home compared to when you're on the road.
I'm sure that adds to it, yeah.
You're confined to really just the rink in your hotel room. And it's not like before when if you were on the road, you're going out to dinner with teammates, you're hanging out in hotel rooms, or even in the bubble where you had those common areas that you could hang out with your teammates. You're very isolated. It's a much different feeling. It's a much different environment. So I think that has more to do with the success of certain teams at home rather than whether they're fans in this scenario. When we get back to normal, when you have fans in the building, when those factors become a part of the game again, then I think that it comes back as a factor in the home ice advantage and the feel to why teams play better at certain arenas and why teams don't play well on the road at certain arenas. Nassau Coliseum is a great example of a building that's tough to play in when there are fans in the building, but it's also tough to play in because the Islanders are able to get into their routine and they're able to be comfortable and stick to that Islander style of hockey. And it's made easier by the fact that they're not in this weird kind of situation like they are when they're on the road, when there's so many limitations, when there really is nothing else for you to do but just sit in your room and do nothing. So these lengthy road trips become a bit of a mental exercise of being able to keep yourself in the moment, as well as that physical exercise of actually being part of the game.
Yeah, look, I'm sure all of that factors in. It's just very interesting to me because before we've had these weird settings and seasons like this, people put a hell of a lot of stock in the atmosphere and in the crowd and in the energy, and you hear it from the players and the coaches all the time. Yeah, we feed off of that. And look, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that they do. I just find it also interesting that you're still seeing a lot of teams that's, have better home records than road records, where the fans really haven't come into play there. So I'm kind of just playing devil's advocate here as far as, just how much stock is there in the crowd atmosphere. Not to say it's not great. Look, I'd rather have fans in the seats. I'd rather have the pandemonium, and I'm sure, and that the players do too. But I just find it interesting now that you can still see that these teams are still having success without the support of their fans in the building.
Well, I mean, it's not like the teams were going to start losing games because there weren't fans in the building. I think that idea is crazy. I mean, I think even the suggestion of it is a bit silly, to be honest. But
I'm not saying that's what would happen.
But when you look at the factors that are going on here, the environmental factors, everyone's kind of playing in the same condition. There's no teams playing with fans in the building, except save for one or two. And so, a couple more as, cities and states kind of lift certain restrictions. Pittsburgh Penguins, for instance, will be having fans next week, I believe, back in the building. Pennsylvania is allowing 15% in for sporting events.
And they already started having some at the Garden, right? At the Rangers.
That started out when last week when they opened up the building, or was it 2 weeks ago now? And obviously, down in Florida, there are teams that have fans in the building. But I think the point of where I'm going with this is that there is a much more, more teams are playing in the same environment, which is no one's in the building. You're just playing in front of media and in front of staff, and so the X factor kind of changes when everyone's playing in the same condition of, all right, these are full buildings, there are people in the stands. That's a different atmosphere. It's a different game going on than when the conditions that we have right now are in play. So I think it changes. I think what impacts home ice advantage and what doesn't impact home ice advantage changes. When you put fans back in these buildings, that now becomes a big part of the home ice advantage. Right now, it's just being able to stay in your routine and have some sort of normalcy and interaction with other people and a little more freedom compared to when you have to travel and you have to, these very strict restrictions that you have to abide by. It throws off your rhythm.
Okay. I feel you. I
don't know why you hate the fans, Sean. Why do you hate the fans?
I don't hate the fans.
Sounds like you do.
I don't. I love the fans. I love the fans. I can't wait to get back in myself. And it's coming. It's coming.
March 18th.
There you go. March 18th. That's not far away.
No. Which is something we recently learned as well. March 18th, finally the date set for fans to be back in the building.
Yep. And they have some, protocols that fans are going to have to go through. Not exactly convenient, but they're trying to do the right thing, which you understand. But look, they're going to do 10%, and they're going to go by season ticket holders and, I guess seniority, right? And then kind of trickle on down. So I'd be curious to see if they even make it to the general public, because you'd think that they have a decent sized enough fan base where, they'll probably be eaten up by the season ticket holders before the tickets even make it to.
Well, I think there's something to be said for the fact that how many season ticket holders are going to be willing to go through the hoops that it'll be to get into the building in the first place. Now, one of the things that the Islanders, facts page said was that they were partnering with Northwell Health to kind of streamline the process so that fans are able to get their tickets in hand, or their tests in hand, I should say. So it'll be interesting. Buffalo, by the way, the Buffalo Sabres, who we will be, the Islanders will be facing, we'll be talking to Joe Yerdon about in just a few minutes.
Yeah,
they play their first game in front of fans on Tuesday at the Garden.
There you go.
So all comes full circle.
It's coming back, and I'm excited about it. We're getting closer and closer, so that's good stuff. But folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. We're going to break for Joe Yerdon. We'll be right back.
Customer service is the backbone of any great business, and reliable telecommunication is essential to keeping your client base happy. Introducing Ty Technology, a low-cost, flexible internet phone service founded on the idea that every customer deserves exceptional service while providing simple setup and management and easy integration to clients across the country. Ty Technology will not only create a custom solution tailored to your specific needs, but will partner with you to provide a competitive edge to you and your clients. And if you need support, you won't be routed to an automated call center in another country. You'll get a live representative that had a personal hand in building your account. So Islander fans, if your business is looking for a change from companies like Spectrum, Verizon, or Optimum, Ty Technology is offering 3 free months of service for any of its affordable packages. Just call 516-856-7800. That's 516-856-7800. Or visit them on the web at tytechnology.com. That's Ty, T-I-E, technology.com. Ty Technology, the right choice for your internet phone service.
The only thing better than a great Long Island deli is a great Long Island deli run by die-hard Islander fans. Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington, will make any Islander fan feel right at home with its familiar blue and orange theme and Isles decor. Blue Line Deli and Bagels proudly serves Bagel Boss bagels, along with breakfast favorites, hockey-themed heroes, quesadillas, salads, fresh-made smoothies, and much more. So stop on in for delicious food, a clean atmosphere, and a happy staff ready to greet you with friendly service no matter what team you support. Want to place an order for pickup? Call 631-944-3222 or visit BlueLineDeli.com to check out the menu and order online. Blue Line Deli and Bagels, where the great selections will have you saying, yes, yes, yes.
Hope you enjoyed the ads. Now let's get back to Hockey Night in New York with Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
That's right. This is Hockey Night in New York. Brought to you by our friends at Blue Line Deli. Brought to you by our friends at Tide Technology.
That's right.
And, of course, now is the time for our On the Line segment, brought to you again by our friends from Tide Technology. And on the line with us is Joe Yerdon, the Buffalo Sabres insider. He's going to help us break down this week's upcoming matchups with the Buffalo Sabres. So if you are excited to see Buffalo 3 times, then the next few minutes here are going to be thrilling for you. Joe, how are you today?
Doing great, guys. It's good to be on with you and talk about this drama bomb of a team that is the Sabres.
Oh, my God.
It's funny. I mean, you look at the Buffalo Sabres right now, Joe, and there's a lot of similarities between what's going on in Buffalo now and between what we saw with the New York Islanders in the mid 2000s, early 2000s, late 90s. Certainly a lot of drama going on right now, Joe. What is the biggest surprise to you right now with everything that's kind of encompassed the Buffalo Sabres? Because I think there was, like every year, there was a lot of optimism about this team.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that's surprising is the lack of offense with this entire team. The crazy part with them is that it feels like it's a dam that's going to break at some point, and it doesn't, and it hasn't for whatever reason. You've got guys like Taylor Hall, you've got Jack Eichel, you've got Jeff Skinner, even when he's in the lineup. You've got Victor Olofsson, you've got Eric Stahl. I mean, you've got all these guys, Sam Reinhart. You've got all these people that can score, and they can score. They've scored a ton in the past, and they're generating chances, and none of them are going in. Whether it's the goaltenders having outstanding games, or the posts are getting in the way, or what have you. I mean, we've already seen the Islanders goalies have a couple of just absolutely knockout games against Buffalo, where Varlamov makes a big save against Olofsson. I think I forget which game it was, but he makes a big glove save against him early. And it just completely deflated the Sabres. And then, Sorokin goes on and has a shutout against them the next game. And it's just like, all right, well, one big save just throws everything out of whack, I guess, for an entire series. But yeah, the offense is a huge problem. But the problem for them now is that other things are starting to fall down like houses of cards around them because the offense isn't clicking.
Well, Joe, first and foremost, great to have you back on the show. It's been a while, so welcome back. Awesome to have you on. And, it's been a while since we have had you on, and I feel like every time we do, Joe, we're having the same conversation, man. The same conversation, it's just a different cast of characters. Whether it's the coaching staff, whether it's the players on the ice. I feel like my first question off the top of the interview every time is, what's going on up there? When are they going to get it together?
It's funny. It's funny that you guys mentioned the time for the Islanders, the late 90s, early 2000s time. And I was like, I never put it in that sort of frame of thought that this is very similar. And then I remembered the Islanders had their Ted Nolan years.
Yeah,
and then the
literally.
Sabres brought back Ted Nolan, and now they're having their post Ted Nolan years, and none of it's working. I don't know. Forgive me for being totally forgetful about those years after after Nolan years at the Islanders. I know, Milbury was around and all that, but I forget most of the coaches that were around. And I can't really say that's the case with the Sabres because everybody remembers Dan Bilesma because he won a Stanley Cup at Pittsburgh. They remember Phil Housley because he was so good with Nashville. And now Ralph Kruger. Oh boy, Ralph Kruger's carving out himself quite a legacy now with having this fight with Jeff Skinner, a fight that's not a fight with Jeff Skinner. And, now he got busted lying about what happened with Jack Eichel, Jeez. Why he was out of the lineup, where he says he got hurt in warmups. And then Jack says, very kind of nonchalantly, no, I got hurt against New Jersey. It wasn't in warmups. And then Ralph after that says, well, actually Jack had a few different injuries. So that's why he was out of the game. And it's like, wow. Oh boy. Okay. So, it's a bad scene right here now. And after 8 or 9 years of not making the postseason, I think this is going on year 10. It's bad. And the fans they've had it for a few years now, and they're just absolutely losing their mind.
It does sound familiar to folks down here on the island, Joe, I have to say. So once you say 8, 9 years, I'm like, oh man, yeah, I remember those times. Yeah, it took that long. So you talk about the drama that's going on, and looking from afar here, you start to see whether it's some tweets or maybe even some headlines about Jack Eichel and maybe getting a little upset up there, maybe getting a little impatient. Do you see that kind of turning into a problem in the near term? Do you think this is something that will iron itself out, or do Buffalo Sabres fans have to worry about his mindset and where he might want to be for his future and to have some success in this league?
Well, I think the worry about Jack started after last season ended, when they finished 25th in the league, when the top 24 got to go on to the postseason fun party, and all it would have taken was one win instead of one loss during the entire season. Swap one L for a W, and they wind up in there instead of Montreal. So like that kind of thing sticks out, and Jack being sore about that. I mean, how do you fault him?
Right.
Especially for every year that he's been here. Ever since his first year with Dan Bilesma as the coach, when they had 81 points, that was their best season that he's had in the NHL as a team.
Wow.
Like him individually, he's had, each season he's been even better. And last year, very deservedly got votes for MVP, even though Buffalo, was 25th in the league. It would have been a very Alex Rodriguez-like MVP finalist vote for him if he made it. But fans started getting worried last year because honestly, the fans are as sick about it of all the losing as Jack is, and everybody starts having a bit more empathy for Jack when they consider he came here to get this thing turned around. They haven't put anything around him to really help it out. Tim Murray kind of scratched the plan to slowly rebuild and said, nope, we're going to do it all now. And he gets O'Reilly, he gets Evander Kane, he gets Robin Leonard, he gets all these guys who are individually great players. Yeah. And then they all just didn't work out for different reasons, and that stinks. But now we're with Jack in year 6, year 7 now for him.
It's been that long already.
Yeah. So
wow.
I think it's year 6.
Okay.
He's class of 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is year 5, year 6. Man, I don't know. It's been that kind of run where everything just runs together.
Sure,
now,
I hear you.
Time seems to slow down, and yet it keeps marching on.
Right.
But you're at this point now where every season Jack's been in, the best season the team's had is his rookie year. Jeez. And they still finished far out of the playoff race. So can you fault him? I mean, they've been, a top 5 worst team in the league a few times. They've been a top 10 worst team every year. Like, I don't know. At some point, you just have to say, get me out of here, man.
Yeah.
And that time is coming soon, because he has a no move clause that kicks in after the 21-22 season, which we all know you get to control your destiny at that point. And you got to think that if Jack is done with it, if they don't have something figured out by the end of next season, he's going to say, all right, move me to the Rangers, move me to the Bruins, move me to wherever, and I got the final say. I've got the hammer. So, it just seems logical to think that if they don't have this squared away, I mean, they got 35 games to go here. If they somehow, some way figure out how to learn how to play hockey again here and get the season turned around and get themselves into the number 4 spot.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Then you can start making progress on to next season.
Right.
But if they don't, and this thing crashes out like every other season has with him here, I mean, it's hard to imagine that he'll say, yeah, no, I'm good for another year here, guys. It's cool. Let's go. Meanwhile, they've messed around with the contracts for Sam Reinhart. They go out and get Taylor Hall to help him feel better. That's great. But all of his buddies are just kind of they all end up leaving town some way. And at some point, Jack's going to say, enough of this already.
Joe, this sounds uncomfortably familiar, though. It sounds uncomfortably familiar to some scenarios that went down here and in the not so distant past. So I'm hearing you say all this, and it's just taking me back there, and I'm like, man, I'm just feeling for the fans up there right now. That is tough to hear. It's very tough to hear. But Chris,
well, the thing, I know you're thinking of Tavares,
yeah,
but at least with Tavares, it was Barzal. Barzal was right there,
right.
In this case,
and he had a taste of the playoffs, and he still left,
right. Yeah, right, still left. But is Dylan Cousins a good enough guy to replace Jack Eichel? I don't know about that.
Right.
That's putting a really big shoe on Dylan Cousins' foot, and I don't know if that's the right fit.
Talking with Joe Yerdon, Buffalo Sabres insider, here on the line, brought to you by our friends at Tie Technology. Joe, obviously, with all the drama going on, I guess you have to wonder or even look at ownership here. And the Pegula family, who have had astounding success with the Buffalo Bills, but almost kind of in contrast to the New York Rangers here in New York, where the Rangers have been very successful under the ownership of James Dolan and not so much under his stewardship of the New York Knicks. The Buffalo Sabres have been not great under the stewardship of the Pegulas, but the Bills have been phenomenal. Where is the kind of disconnect there that Buffalo sports is doing so well in one aspect, but not so well in the other?
Well, that's a bit of a mystery to itself because, well, I mean, it's obvious. It's Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane were able to get things under control with the Bills because after they fired Doug Whaley and they fired Rex Ryan, it seemed like, all right, well, this has got to be as low as it can get. How much different can it be? And they go out and they get McDermott, and McDermott brings Beane in from the Carolina Panthers with him, and I think what happens here is that McDermott was a guy that was kind of put on a platter to the NFL years ago, even before they hired Rex Ryan. And they said, and the NFL was like, "Hey, you might want to talk to this guy. He might be of some help." Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And they're like, "Well, we got an interview with this other guy. Let's see how this goes." And then they brought in Rex Ryan, and Rex Ryan, puts on the Dazzle Show, which
is amazing.
Smooth talker.
It's honestly amazing.
Yeah. Smooth
the
talker,
Dazzle Show.
and like he can put on a show for you to say like, oh man, this guy's gonna win us some games. Yeah, like, all right. I mean, every Jets fan in the world will knock him, but he's also the guy that got the Jets to the AFC Championship a couple times.
True.
So I mean, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But McDermott ends up coming back to him, and then they get in there, and then they kind of find a way to talk. They know the way to talk to the Pegulas to kind of keep them off their case and say, listen, we know what we're doing with the football team. Let us handle our business. Now, they got very fortunate with Josh Allen. Let's not get it wrong here. Allen, his first 2 seasons, not great.
Right.
His rookie season was terrible. Second season was a little better, still not great. Was unbelievable last year. So they've been very fortunate that development worked out. But now you're looking at, well, if he has a bad season next season, what do they pay him? Because if he has another season like he does this year and he's an MVP guy, they've got to pay him $40-45 million
right,
a year.
The asking price goes way up.
Top end quarterback. Yeah. So the problem here is that at least on the outside, the appearances tell you they kind of look at Ralph Kruger and Kevin Adams as like their Beane and McDermott, because they're saying like, well, listen, we're picking these guys. We're going to get them in place. This is going to be our dynamic duo. They'll get it figured out. Problem there is that they thought Jason Bottrell and Phil Housley were going to be that duo. Yeah. They thought Tim Murray and Dan Bilesma were going to be able to be that duo, and they weren't. So, and they thought Pat LaFontaine and Tim Murray were going to be the dynamic front office duo, and then Pat LaFontaine was like, "Get me out of here, man! Like this is too much."
He's been known to get out when things aren't looking so good. We can remember that down here too.
Yeah. Again, the similarities with the
Islanders there's some
coming out
here.
all over the place here. So I mean, it's the kind of thing where they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice with the same sort of setup. The only problem is that even though McDermott and Beane weren't, proven necessarily, they're kind of proven in Carolina to a degree. Kruger unproven based on 1 half season with Edmonton, and Kevin Adams has never been a GM before in his life. So it's a thing where you got to hope that it works out. But I don't know that they don't have the time or the credibility with hockey fans to be able to sit back and go, no, let it breathe. Let these guys get it done. They'll take care of it. Like they're out of opportunity.
Joe, I just want to point out, you made a ton of football references that I got, and I'm sure most of our listeners did not. Sean just sat there and tried to pretend like he knew exactly what you were talking about, but maybe the only name he recognized was Rex Ryan.
I did recognize that name. I did. I was like, yep, Jets,
The man is oblivious to anything but hockey, which is quite entertaining in that moment. Just watching him be like, yep, totally agree with what you...
I actually saw you look at me once, and I was like, I know what Christian's thinking right now.
I won't lie. I kind of saw the deer in the headlights look from you. Sean, so.
I was watching the birds fly by, man. I was like, yeah, all right.
But Joe, in this scenario, I mean, how much time do the Buffalo Sabres have? You look at what's gone on with Jeff Skinner. I mean, you have to imagine things have gotten pretty icy there between him and management and the coaching staff, and even now with Jack Eichel. Like you were saying before, the clock is ticking. There's not a lot of time to convince this guy that this is the place to be. Even when you're talking about a guy like Taylor Hall, who signed there to 1 year and was said, comes in and says, "Oh, I'm open to being here. This is a place that I could see myself for long term, if the case may be." How do you convince these guys? And again, this is the same conversation, Sean and I and many other people had for years here on Long Island when things were not going well. But how do you change the culture here, which it seems like that appears to be the biggest issue with the Buffalo Sabres?
Yeah, and that leads into more weirdness of late.
Sweet.
Don Meehan is Jeff Skinner's agent, and he said that he spoke with Kevin Adams about being scratched for 3 games, and why wouldn't you? Your guy's being paid $9 million a year and had just scored 40 goals 2 years ago.
Makes sense.
Ralph Kruger was asked about that, and he said he didn't know, he wasn't aware of any of that, but he said that he and Adams are in constant communication. So it's like, all right, well, which is it? Did you know or did you not know?
Yeah.
Like everything feels like that A Few Good Men moment where you're asking who ordered the code red, and you're just waiting for him to have his Jack Nicholson moment and, saying, you can't handle the truth. Well, okay. I mean, fine, I guess. But as far as looking ahead for the future, I mean, it all really hinges on what Jack wants to do, to be perfectly blunt. And if Jack wants to get out, I mean, the players are going to know about that before anybody.
Yeah.
It's like, Jack's got to talk to them, and they're going to be like, dude, he ain't staying. I ain't staying. Sam Reinhart's going to have to sign a new contract next summer. If Jack's not staying, why would he want to stick around for it? Same for Taylor Hall. And for the guys that are still stuck on entry level deals, well, you can ask for a trade, I guess, but like, why, at that point you're just kind of stuck playing it out and hoping that maybe you get lumped in with one of the trades that gets somebody sent out of town.
Goodness.
But I mean, it's things look really dire, and the emotions run really hot and cold here. But like, this team would have to win 15 in a row to get fans to be like, all right, okay, all right, maybe I'm coming back into this right now.
Yeah.
Last couple of years, they've had those long winning streaks. Remember last October, they started off 6-0-1 in October, and everybody's like, whoa, wait a minute, here we go, great season. Then they had the 10-game win streak the year before that, and everybody's like, oh my God, first in the league, there we go. Yeah. And then they blew up in the second half. So fans they're almost numb to that too. So even a long winning streak isn't going to be enough to get people to buy in. So that's where we're at, man. Like, it's the perfect. You can't, fool me once, shame on me.
Yeah.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And everybody's like, no more. We're not shaming ourselves anymore. This is stupid.
Talking with Joe Yerdon here on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Tide Technology. And if you're just joining us, no, we're not talking about the mid-2000s New York Islanders. We're talking about the current state of affairs with the Buffalo Sabres.
Or the 90s Islanders, for that matter.
Or it's just a long history of bad there. But the Buffalo Sabres, bigger tire fire apparently. But Islanders and Sabres do play later on this week 3 times. So if you're not
That's where I was gonna go,
if you're not excited to see the Buffalo Sabres already, get excited because they'll be coming to Long Island for 3 consecutive games, Joe. And obviously with everything that's going on here, what is the 3 things that you're watching from this game that'll be key factors for whoever wins this Battle of Two Titans?
Well,
well said.
I think in the Sabres case, what I want to see is some kind of fight, not an actual like fisticuffs, like, line brawl. I don't need to be seeing that. They don't have any guys that can really do that anyways. But I want to see that. I want to see a pushback. I want to see some sort of like, F this, let's go
Play
for
pride.
it. Just let's have a chance here. Like let's figure this out on our own and go for it instead of just give up a goal and just be like, all right, we'll pack it in, fellas. That's it. The something I noticed in the 2 games with Philadelphia this weekend was, one game without Eichel. Okay, you can kind of write that off immediately and just say like, well, no Jack, no chance. But the second game they had Jack and they got outshot, I think 21-12 in the second period when Philly posted all 3 of their goals. They had like 27 shots in all, and it was just terrible. Philly spent the entire third period just saying, like, whatever, we're cruising out of here with a win. If we get the shutout, cool. If not, whatever, we're getting a win. But like, there was no pushback. There was no, they weren't controlling the zone. They weren't doing anything to really show that they were a threat to come back. So show me some signs of life. Let me see Eichel pop some in. Let me see Hall pop some in. Let me see Skinner pop one in here finally for the first time in 20 some games. So, the problem there is that the Islanders are so difficult defensively, and everything. And I'll be honest here. Ralph's system is not an offensive system. They do not play off the rush. They do not take any chances offensively unless they're way down in a game, which at that point, who cares if you score a goal? It's garbage time. But like, they don't do anything in the neutral zone to disrupt anything. The defensemen back up constantly. They're not very aggressive there. They want to cut off all your chances. They want to have you shoot from the outside, nothing inside, which, hey, great. That's fine. Limit the other team's chances, but they don't do anything to push it back the other way. And when you're doing that with the Islanders, and if you get down 1-0 against the Islanders, good night. Like, it's over. We saw that already with the couple of games last week. Granted, that was fresh off of a COVID break for the Sabres. Right. But healthy or not, the way they played, they were not scoring any goals to begin with. So, I mean, it's that kind of thing where, like, they cannot afford to give up the first goal, and they have to find a way to push back, because otherwise the Isles are going to suffocate them. And the Sabres have shown this entire year they have no way to mount up the guts, not the guts, but not mount up the chutzpah you need to really get back into a game.
And Joe, I find that interesting that you mentioned that, because you look at the names that they do have. They bring in Hall, they have Eichel, Reinhart. I mean, I guess it's a little odd to me that they wouldn't play more of an offensive game when you have those sorts of weapons, especially with the way they've been struggling. Do you think that maybe that's a strategy they might want to reconsider if they want to try to turn the season around before it gets a little more bleak than it already is?
Yeah, I would say that right now, if you've got that trick in your bag, it's time to use it. The one thing they did do a little bit in the last game was they put together the line of Skinner, Eichel, and Reinhart, which in Phil Housley's last year is what got Jeff Skinner 40 goals. And that was a dynamic line, one of the best lines in the NHL. And he hasn't used that much at all. But he used it for a few shifts in the last game, and wouldn't you know, they generated 7 shot attempts and gave up only 1. Weird. Strange. So maybe give it another chance. Yeah. Maybe try it for an entire game instead of trying to force things to happen that haven't worked. Victor Olofsson's a great weapon on the power play. 5-on-5 though, he just has nothing. He's got nothing right now, and I hate having to say that because I love him. He's a great player, but man, he's got to get something figured out at 5-on-5, because otherwise he's just a guy skating out, just skating the line out there. Like, he's not really contributing much. So, find a way to push things. But like, you've got the guys that can make things happen offensively if you let them flow, if you let them push the game. I think Ralph's main worry, though, is that the game's going to get out of hand if you get loose defensively. And listen, Phil Housley's last year was entirely about being way too loose defensively, and they got outshot constantly. Yeah. But, it's the weird spot that Ralph's in, because he has to manage that defensive side of thing, because they cannot play run and gun hockey with anybody. Like, they can't afford to do it because the goaltending's not good enough and the defense isn't strong enough. But they also can't afford to not allow their offense the freedom to freewheel, to make offense happen. But you got to give up one or the other. And I think in his mind, the safest play is to try to D-up. And man, oh man, holding back guys like Eichel and Reinhart and Hall and Skinner, and even on defense with Dahlin and Ristolainen, like, holding those guys back from being able to help produce offensively really hurts the squad.
That's what it sounds like to me. Well, Joe, awesome stuff. Really appreciate you coming on. And I hope the hockey up there gets a little better for you and the Sabres fans up there, because it's high time. It's been so long. I want to start talking about how good the Sabres are doing with you, buddy, because like I said, it's been like the same conversation year after year.
Hey, just think about it. 2010, 2011 was the last time they were in the playoffs. That was it. And Danny Briere and Billy Leno helped knock them out in the playoffs with Philly.
Oh my God. Well, Joe, here's to better times, man. Great talking to you. Yeah. Hope to have you on again soon, and be good, man.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks having me.
Thanks so much. Take care. All right, folks, that was the great Joe Yerdon, Buffalo Sabres insider, talking plenty of Sabres up there in northern New York. So
Western New York.
Western, northwestern. It's north of here.
But it's
north of
considered
here.
Western New York.
All right, well, we don't have to get into semantics here, Christian.
It's not semantics.
It's another
just
area.
being factual.
Okay. So, moving on. So, a lot of doom and gloom up there, man.
Oh, my God. I've never...
my mood was changing.
Yeah.
I was getting sad. It's like, oh,
Boy, it was
Joe,
rough.
stop.
Yeah.
Stop, Joe. But you know what, though? I couldn't help but sympathize because, like, almost every other word he was saying, I was like, yeah, remember that. Yep, remember that, too.
Yeah,
Been there.
Sounds awful.
Done that. So at least Islander country can hear that sorry tale of woe for the Sabres and relate.
Yes, yeah.
You know?
And I'm sure they never want to go back to that.
Right, so
They never want to relate again.
I'm not going to be quick to pile on and start laughing at them up there. It's a shame because, I mean, it's funny, you know, he mentions Housley and all these different people that were behind the bench and in the you know, the managing seat and stuff like that. And it's like they've had this just rotation of guys, and they just can't get it together. And the names that they've had, and they just nothing.
It is wild, but like you said, it's almost like kind of watching your own story on TV. It's just
Right,
not
like-
it's a little too close to home sometimes when you hear
Right.
some of the stories. You're like, oh wow, like yeah, we do remember that down here. How bad it was.
It's
Like,
kind of like the how it started, how it's going meme.
it really
You
is.
know, like the Sabres, how it started, the Islanders, how it's going, I guess. But yeah, glad not to be in those shoes right now. That's rough.
I remember the days of covering the bad Islander teams here, and it was.
I tell you
not
what,
pretty.
I mean,
not
start
fun.
placing your bets now. I don't think Jack Eichel's going to be a Buffalo Sabre for much longer. As soon as he has the chance to get out of there, it sounds like he's gone.
I mean,
And I don't think he's the type of guy that's, you know, I want to stay with the team that drafted me. He wants to win.
he does,
He
but
wants to
he
win.
was a guy. You know, in fairness, he was a guy that went to Buffalo, and you know that was the year that everyone was. What was that year? Who was the big draft pick that year? Wasn't the the Sabres came in second in that draft year? It wasn't Eichel that
Are
was
you
the
talking
number one
about
pick?
Connor McDavid?
Yes, yeah.
The guy
So-
who plays for the Oilers?
Yeah, that guy.
Oh, okay.
I think I've heard of him once or twice.
Yeah,
You know, he's decent in hockey. But
Right.
remember, right? He went there. He's like, I want. He was all hyped to go to Buffalo.
Right,
And we
right,
wanted to
right,
turn
right.
things around there. And he
Sure.
just, I mean, you got to feel for the guy. He went to a situation that was actually not terrible, all things considered. Like it seemed like getting Eichel would have been the turnaround, and
Yeah.
it's turned around, but just in the wrong direction.
I don't know where it turned, but it's not good up there. But let's bring it back to Islander hockey, Christian.
And the Islanders will play the Sabres 3 times this week.
Three times in a row, mini series.
Yeah.
All at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, all makeup games. Well, 2 makeup games, I think.
Right,
for
right,
or
the scheduling
One of them,
and
actually,
stuff.
only one of them might have been the makeup game, and then 2 had been kind of maneuvered around. There's so much schedule juggling that it's hard to keep straight sometimes. But
Yeah.
the Islanders play the Sabres 3 times, and as we were alluding to earlier in the show, you don't want to get into a situation
Yes.
where you're counting those points already before those games happen. Even
Yeah.
tomorrow night when they play the New Jersey Devils, which have been pretty competitive, and
Yeah.
you hear the Islanders talk about the Sabres, and I get that basically every team says this about the other team that they play because it's hockey and you never say anything bad about your opponent,
Right.
but.
Right.
The Islanders
It's all about class.
often talk about how that's a good team over there and complimenting the Buffalo Sabres. And you look at those games against Buffalo the last couple times. I mean, it's not as though the Sabres played terribly,
No.
or that they
And Joe mentioned,
Were outplayed,
the
you
game
know.
that Sorokin had. He made some great saves. That could have
Yeah.
been a different game.
Yeah.
And even Varlamov in at least one of the 2 other games that they played against him. So, but that's how it goes for teams in that position. You're going to struggle, and you're going to run into teams like the Islanders that give you nothing and that have 2 formidable goaltenders. So
yeah. I mean that's the thing though.
it just sounds terrible up there. It really does. Like I was everything I heard, I was just like, that sounds really bad. It's not good.
But that's the thing with the Islanders. I mean, they put themselves in a spot where night in and night out, they're giving themselves a chance to win for the most part. Outside of those couple clunkers and that rough
Except
stretch
for
earlier
playing
in
the
year.
Pittsburgh Penguins.
But even those games, like you look at some of them,
They should have won more games.
they should have won
against
more
those
games
guys.
against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yes.
And even some of the blowouts weren't necessarily blowouts, but a couple bad minutes of hockey, and ultimately that's going to cost you, and that's going to be that's a big thing this year, especially. But it's nothing that hasn't happened to good teams, bad teams, or in between teams in the past. So.
Well, enough about the dull swords up in West North New York. And I want to talk about the
Dull
Islanders.
swords.
the Islanders power play because it's still on fire.
It's red hot.
Yeah, since the break, actually the start of February, pulled some numbers from the great Eric Hornick over at nyskinny.com. 9 for 22 in February. That's 40.9%. Almost 41%, Christian.
Almost 41%.
Yeah, really close to 41%. Yeah. It's actually 1 point shy of it.
0.1.
Right. So 41% almost.
Yeah.
Very successul.
I mean, they've been phenomenal.
Very successful.
And I think, again, we've talked about it the last couple shows. You go back to the COVID break. I hate calling it COVID break, but the period of time where they weren't playing because the teams around them, namely the Buffalo Sabres.
The pandemic soiree.
Yeah. It was a COVID party, as I guess you would say.
Yeah, I guess so.
But, that they had that week off because the Buffalo Sabres, speaking of the Sabres, had the outbreak on their team because of the New Jersey Devils, who they also see this week, coincidentally enough.
Yes.
So they had really took the ball and ran with it. In that week, they focused on the power play. There was a big emphasis.
It has been night and day.
And it really has. But also, I think it goes to...
Don't point at me. That's rude.
I think it goes to who you've had on the power play the last couple of games, especially.
That's where I'm going. Oliver Wahlstrom has a lot to do with this turnaround of the Islanders power play. 5 power play points, 4 of them assists. You would think maybe more of them would be goals, but 4 of them are assists, and he's showing he can pass very well, like that feed to Nelson all the way across. Pajot with the phantom attempt, gets to Nelson, puts it in. So Wahlstrom has been a revelation recently. He's 3-4-7 in 14 games played. That puts him at a 41-point pace in 82 games.
Also riding a 4-game point streak.
Yeah, I thought it was 5.
4. He's got 5 points in his last 4 games.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
Okay, fair enough. But the most exciting thing, Christian?
Yes.
This is the most exciting thing.
Go on. I'm waiting with bated breath.
Is that?
Are you going to tell me it's exciting?
I am. No, it's the fact that, look, what has been the general need that ourselves and fans alike have been talking about for this team? They need more firepower.
Yeah.
They need more scoring, right?
Oh, I thought you were asking me and I was going to respond and then you were
going
to...
Oh, no. I was going to answer my own question. No.
Okay.
This is my time. No. So it's been scoring. Yeah. And the beautiful thing here, we're seeing this guy develop right before our eyes. He's playing with a lot more confidence. He's getting time on the power play.
Yep.
He's got this Ovi-like cannon from the spot there.
Well, he's scoring his power play goals from the Ovi office.
Yes, and he can successfully hit a one-timer, which has been a problem for Islanders on the power play. I mean, not only can he actually connect, but it's a bullet. And it's going on net, and it's a beautiful thing. And if this is something that can become consistent, it's very exciting because you have that question answered. You don't have to look outside anymore. You have it from within. And not only that, you got the guy in his first year of an ELC. Cheap money, baby. That means you don't have to move the roster around, maybe lose a guy you don't want to lose, a la Devon Toews not too long ago. You don't have to make all these different moves to try to bring somebody else, whether it's Taylor Hall in the offseason or at the trade deadline, which I don't think would happen anyway. But my point is that this might be the Islanders answering their own question here, and they can put the focus somewhere else, whether it's getting a depth defenseman for the run. They may not have to really supplement this team if this is a guy who can start munching more minutes up as a forward, start putting in more points. He looks fantastic next to Pajot, who's also been playing phenomenal. So this is very exciting for New York Islander fans.
I can tell by the excitement in your voice. And that whole but it really is. You look at what Oliver Wahlstrom has done, and Sean obviously just went through all of his stat lines, and basically anything I could touch upon, Sean had just done that in the last 2 minutes or so.
Welcome.
But I think the bigger thing is just the way that he's been playing, the confidence in his game, and it's shown, and the fact that he's not afraid to shoot the puck.
Yes.
And you talk about the assists that he's had, which is surprisingly higher than the goals that he's had, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's putting the puck on the net, and it's giving the guys down low an opportunity to clean up those rebounds. So the other thing that the Islanders have always, and we've yelled and screamed at it for years, is the fact they don't shoot the puck. Now you have a guy that's going out there, and he's firing the puck.
They've been missing this for such a long time.
And it's night and day now, and you're right, 100% spot on, Sean, where you look at what they're... Oh, I wish I didn't have to say that. I was really hoping we could just blow through. you look at it, it's night and day the way that this team has been able to play when he's shooting the puck, and you have guys down low now. The Anders Lee are able to get those goals. Brock Nelson's down low. J.G. Pajot, the game-winning goal against the Buffalo Sabres, right? If I'm not mistaken, or was it Boston? Pajot had the game-winning goal on the power play, but it was a rebound goal. I can't remember it all. So many games already.
It's okay.
But
they know.
Regardless, the point being is they're right there. He's shooting the puck, and it's giving those guys an opportunity. It's creating the scoring chances. So they're in good position. Pajot is putting the puck on the net, and it's creating all these good opportunities. Sorry, someone just wrote in big letters in the chat, "Cheap money, baby," in quotes.
That's it.
So it really is exciting, and I think that it's like I said at the beginning of the show as well. It's a real exciting time because of the bigger implications you have here.
Yeah.
You have not only Oliver Wahlstrom impacting these games, but you're having these other young guys too.
The youth movement.
And when you look at it, one of the big things was always about how this team has gotten older. It's much older now. I mean, Anders Lee is in his late 20s now. He's in the prime of his career. Brock Nelson in his late 20s. All these character guys, these core guys, I should say, that we talked about years ago, being like, oh, this is the youth movement.
Yeah, no, they're the vets now.
It's not so much the youth movement anymore. They're the veterans on this team. But now when you look at the Islanders and the contributions they're getting from other players, the youth movement, the youth infusion is picking up again, because obviously you have the Wahlstroms, the Dobsons, and the Sorokins now, but also Anthony Beauvillier, who's still in his early 20s. He's 23.
Yeah.
He's contributing now when he's turning in that corner.
Barzal.
Matthew Barzal, who's the cornerstone of this organization right now. He is the superstar. He is the number one. He's the go-to guy.
Yep.
And he's 23. He's still in his early career. That has to be really exciting. And then you add these young pieces in there, and that is a huge thing for the Islanders going forward.
They create a nice balance where you're not as concerned about that top-heavy, when I say top-heavy, age-wise,
right,
with those guys who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, you can have, and it's balanced throughout many things, not just the roster, the lineup, but also, again, you have to keep an eye on the cap situation. And when you have guys like Dobson and Wahlstrom, to a lesser extent Sorokin, because he's already kind of going to get a little more money than maybe an entry-level deal and stuff like that.
It's a different circumstance there.
But it's still, you're able to put high talent at the bottom of the cap roster, and so it just makes things a lot more flexible, and it gives a little more hope for success here in the immediate and maybe even in the future. Whereas, I mean, look, a big concern at Islander fans has been, is this team just going to kind of meander in this really good team spot and not take it to that level of being a true contender,
right? Because
they didn't have the cap space to bring in that scoring help, where Oliver Wahlstrom's like, hey guys, I might be able to help you out with that. So, I mean, that's why, it's got me excited, as we've said here, because
maybe we should think of another descriptive word.
Yeah, maybe.
Another adjective.
Maybe. I'm encouraged by what's going on here. No, but for real though, it's something to, now I'm trying not to use that word. Something to
look forward to going forward.
But the thing is, it's early, right? It's only been a few games, but you're seeing it. You see the potential. You can't help but start thinking about it, looking ahead and seeing what this might mean for the team, especially because on top of this youth movement that's happening with these guys, the secondary scoring has been picking up too. Where we're talking about guys like Pajot. He's been an absolute beast lately. 3 points in his last 4 games this week. 2 power play goals, 1 shorty. Thanks again, Eric Hornick.
Yeah.
So,
it's funny you mentioned Pajot. Remember when we had Molly Walker on a couple weeks back? That we were still at that point where the secondary scoring wasn't there, and I think one of the players that she had singled out was Pajot, and it's almost as if he took it as a call to arms, because since then,
he was watching.
Sure,
yeah.
I'm sure JG Pajot was spending his Sunday nights watching us, but he almost took it as a call to arms, and you've seen his play elevate, and I don't think his play ever really wasn't there. I think you're seeing it benefit from the fact that he's had more stability on his line, and now he's playing with a guy who's much more offensive-minded and giving him those opportunities. By the way, it was the Buffalo game that Wahlstrom's shot was initially saved, and then Pajot scored on the rebound to win the game on the power play.
I'm glad we cleared that up.
I just wanted to bring it back full circle and correct myself.
No, that's good. I'm glad. That's the way to be professional. Good job.
All right. Respond to what I just said.
No, absolutely. I mean, Pajot has been a special teams darling on this team. I mean, and that's the thing. And the team, Barry Trotz, they've all been talking about just what kind of player he is. Even Wahlstrom actually has had a lot of great things to say about Pajot, how he's taken him under his wing, and he's gone to him for advice, and he's been nothing but great. So you want to talk about a guy who just totally acclimated himself to this team after coming over. I mean, people were talking about the anniversary of the trade, yesterday or whatever it was.
It was earlier in the week.
Fair enough. But just, the guy has fit in like a glove and been one of the better acquisitions for this team in a trade in a long time. I mean, you go back and you think of maybe Eberle for Strome, and then beyond that, it's like Leddy and Boychuk maybe, you know what I mean? So, just a huge, huge hit for Lou Lamoriello, and there's not too many people griping about the amount of money he got in his contract as there were when it happened. Because I remember there was a lot of grumbles about that contract.
Right, and I think that a year later, I think almost everybody wrote it. I know I wrote about it for NY Hockey Now. Yeah. I know it was in Newsday. I think Arthur Staple wrote about it in The Athletic, was the fact that a year later, you're seeing the dividends pay off for this guy that, in fairness, there was a fair sense of sort of concern when the Islanders made that trade, because it was a bit of a king's ransom to bring him here. They gave away a number of draft picks. Then to sign him, they invested a hefty amount of their cap space in him for the next several years. So in the end of the day, you've not only brought in a guy that's fit in like a glove. He's contributing offensively. You can put him in basically any spot, and he will succeed there, whether it's penalty kill, power play, center, wing, first line, third line, fourth line, second. Like, he fits in everywhere, and that's a huge asset. And then you add to the fact that he's essentially become a mentor for Oliver Wahlstrom, and you look at the dividends that's played, because those young guys that we were talking about, the Dobsons, Wahlstroms, and Sorokins, they all almost have a mentor-like player on the roster. You think of it, Noah Dobson, it's been Andy Green. You look at Ilya Sorokin, it's been Semyon Varlamov. And now, with the development, what's going on, it's been J.G. Pajot for Oliver Wahlstrom, and that's been a huge benefit to both of those guys. I think both of them have really enjoyed playing with one another, and you've seen a real growth in both of their games, and that sort of mentorship has become mutually beneficial. But that, going back to the main point I was making, that really is the complete package you could ask for when you bring in a guy like that, like Pajot, to the organization for what you gave up. He has invested in the community, invested in the fan base, invested in the organization, and he has made an impact in every sense of that.
Yeah, and he plays his ass off. He plays with fire. I mean, you saw what he did, his first game against the Rangers last year, fighting Trouba. And even in the playoffs against Florida, remember when he threatened Brian Boyle, who was twice his size. So you just got to love the energy that this guy brings to the team, too. So just full marks to him and to Lou Lamoriello for citing that need, pulling the trigger, making it happen. And I don't think anybody's really worried about those draft picks anymore.
No, it's gone. It's totally gone away from that sort of aspect. I think one of the other interesting things that has really kind of come about through all the success lately, especially with those young guys, is the conversation we were having maybe a month or so ago, was that this rush to get the Bellows and Wahlstroms into the lineup. A year ago, the rush to get Noah Dobson into the lineup. The rush to get Ilya Sorokin all these starts. And I think it's kind of come back now, and maybe there is a sense of, rushing these. Maybe there is something that what Lou Lamoriello was saying, or when he met with the media a couple weeks ago, that players are rushed into the NHL. The Islanders have always sort of taken that slow and steady approach, especially under Lou Lamoriello, and it's paid off. You'll remember Devon Tays, when he first got into the lineup in December or January, when Barry Trotz wanted him in the lineup right at a training camp, and Lou kind of talked him out of it. Now, you look at what happened with Wahlstrom, and people were clamoring to get him into the lineup, myself included. I wrote about it today, and I had to call myself out, and I wrote a column that said, Kiefer Bellows and Oliver Wahlstrom need to be in the lineup. They did not need to be in the lineup at that point in time. They needed some time to develop, and that's what you had. You had these two guys. Bellows is not so much at the moment, but Wahlstrom really was given the first month or so of the season to be there, be around the organization, be around the team, and then when he was ready, be placed in the lineup in a spot that he's going to succeed in, and he's just done just that. And I think there's something to be said for the patient and the steady and patient approach to what the Islanders have done there.
It's going to sound crazy, Christian, but there's a reason why Lou Lamoriello, guys like him and Barry Trotz, get paid millions of dollars to make these decisions.
Yeah, right?
I mean,
maybe they know what they're doing.
Maybe.
And maybe we as podcast hosts and talk show guys, and maybe don't know as much as they do.
Maybe you just got to remind yourself of that, every now and then. Like, oh, yeah, that's right. This is their job. This is what they do for a living. They have championship rings to show for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lou Lamoriello is a Hall of Famer.
He is. He is. And just to round out this secondary scoring talk, also got to bring up Josh Bailey, 7 assists in his last 8 games. Thank you once again, Eric Hornick.
Yeah.
So it's coming around. It's taking a little longer. Even Brock Nelson, he's starting to pot some goals. He's getting on the score sheet. And thankfully, Anthony Beauvillier got his first goal versus Boston, that pesky little goal where he stole the puck in front of the net and put it between the legs before the goalie even knew where it was. He's got 3 points in 7 games since his return. Not exactly great, but it's something. He's got a goal on the board.
We're seeing continued growth.
Yes, and the fact that other guys in the lineup now are picking up the slack. You can afford him a little more time to get going.
Yeah.
Because all the guys we just talked about are going right now, too. So a lot of good things going on in Islander country. And, man, we're going long here, but we still got to get to the hero. Before we do that, I do want to remind everybody that RJ Daniels is the place to be in Rockville Center when you're looking to watch Islander games this season. They're going to have specials all season long. $5 16-ounce Barn Rocker ales, $14 Bud Light pitchers, $17 domestic buckets, $4 domestic bottles or pints. Got plenty of food specials as well. Head on down to 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center for pregame until the final horn, or 10 o'clock, whichever comes first.
Well, 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock, that's right. That's right, there you go. That's right, they extended.
Extra hour.
That's right. Party time, Long Island. There you go. But yes, RJ Daniels for Islander games. They got the sound on. Great stuff, great staff. So head on down if you're looking for a place to watch the Islanders. The New York Islanders.
Yes, and soon enough, fans won't have to watch the game on television from their homes or from RJ Daniels, because they will be letting fans in the building.
They may just get into the building.
They may just get into the building very, very soon.
So what do you say we do the hero now?
All right.
The hero of the week. You ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it right now. Folks, when you hear this song, that means it is time for the Hero of the Week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli & Bagels Half-Price Hero, which this week is the Blue Liner, featuring chicken cutlet, bacon, melted American cheese, Russian dressing on a toasted garlic hero. That's right, the Blue Liner. Get it for half price all week starting tomorrow. That's Tuesday through Sunday, where we'll announce a brand new half-off hero. Stop in and mention Hockey Night in New York for half off the Blue Liner. So, Christian.
Yes.
Who went first last week? I put this responsibility on you to remember.
You went first last week.
Well, then, Christian, please do the honors.
Well, I think by the way we've been talking about this specific player the last hour or so, it's pretty easy to figure out who our hero, well, my hero of the week
Yours.
is anyway.
You speak for yourself,
And
not for
so,
both of us.
My hero of the week is obviously... Did I do this right?
No, you didn't. You hit the wrong one. Sparky's not your hero. Hey, look, everybody. It's Sparky the Dragon.
Well, maybe Sparky is my hero.
Right.
That's my name on this button.
Yeah, all right. You know what? Next time you'll get it. There you go. That's the one.
That's very confusing. Oliver Wahlstrom is the hero of the week. You know what? Sparky can be my hero of the week, too.
Okay, fine.
But Oliver Wahlstrom, hero of the week, obviously for all the things we've been talking about the last hour or so about him. I mean, his point production has been off the charts. 4-game point streak, 5 points in his last 4 games over that stretch. Of course, you have him putting up the power play goal the other night.
Yes.
And just phenomenal play. The confidence level, him putting the puck on the net, him not afraid to shoot the puck. And,
very exciting.
Very exciting. So Oliver Wahlstrom is my hero of the week.
Okay. I like it. Obviously, for all of those reasons, an excellent nominee for Hero of the Week. And I'm even going to say that, I'm not even going to pretend. The guy deserves the Hero of the Week, but I get to choose my own, and I want to give another guy recognition who has been flying under the radar, I feel like, all season.
Leo Komarov?
No, he has not been flying under the radar. Everybody notices him every shift, every breath that man takes. Everybody notices, and you see it on Twitter all the time. No, I'm talking about a guy who has suddenly found his way into being tied in points, second in points with the team.
I know who you're talking about.
With Anders Lee. And this is a defenseman by the name of Nick Leddy. Got to give this guy a shout-out here, because like I said, tied for points here, 1 goal, 13 assists, leads the team with 8 power play points. Thank you, Eric Hornick. 5 points, all assists in the last 4 games. So he's got his own little 4-game streak going on right now, 3 of which were on the power play. He's logging his 20 minutes plus a night. And a lot of people a little worried about his and Scotty Mayfield's pairing here. as far as looking at that D after Devon Taves goes, and you have this newfound pairing here. And I think you got to give the guy some credit. He's looking like the Nick Leddy of old, because I feel like the past couple of years, he kind of hasn't been that go-to guy that he was initially. He was usually going to be your point leader on the defense. Obviously, when you have guys like Ryan Pulock coming up, he's going to be, more of the focus there. He's obviously munching more minutes, top pairing now with Pelech,
right,
getting the power play time and stuff. But look, Nick Leddy having himself a good year so far. 14 points in 17 games, right?
I think that's a very
Might be wrong about that. I probably am.
It's a very good choice. I don't disagree with that being a good choice as well. Although I actually thought we were going to have the same hero of the week again this week.
Like I said, I agree with you. I think Wally's the guy. You're going to see his face tomorrow next to a sandwich when we promote the hero of the week. But I feel like Nick Leddy needed some recognition here.
Oh, absolutely. No.
So.
I think he obviously, one of my biggest pet peeves, and I know we talk about it all the time, is that but defensemen, the only recognition they get is if they're playing out of their mind, or they score a goal, or
they're making
mistakes.
Yeah.
And so that always drives me crazy. So when we get an opportunity to highlight something that doesn't necessarily get looked at as much, I'm always for it.
Yeah, I feel like it was a quiet 14 points. It just kind of crept up on us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I will be honest.
Look who it is.
For someone who watches for the team every game and all these games, that definitely did creep up on you a bit.
And there's one more conversation I want to have before we pretty much start to wrap this up. And that is Semyon Varlamov. I want to talk about the talk revolving around him. No. Revolving around him after that game against the Penguins that they lost on Saturday.
Okay.
Had a little bit of a rough outing, but, some people were just giving him the business, and I just thought there was no place for it. The first goal, he loses the edge on the power play, and Crosby, he hits the open net. Second one, I'll give you that one, probably should have been stopped.
Yeah.
But neither one of those goals would have happened if our hero of the week didn't take a stupid penalty right beforehand.
Well, your hero of the week.
No.
Oh, okay.
Our main hero.
Gotcha.
Ollie, your hero.
Gotcha.
Your guy.
Yeah.
He takes that stupid boarding penalty when they have all the momentum. They're controlling the play. They have the 2-0 lead. And to be honest with you, I was wondering if Barry was going to
bench him,
show a little discipline after that, because,
it would be very Barry Trotz.
It would be very NHL head coach.
Well,
he's a young guy.
There are certain players that definitely do not get the same situational treatment if that would happen.
You're right. But you look at his age. He's just breaking into the league here. He's still got a lot of lessons to learn.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's not. It wouldn't be right. I'm just saying it's not necessarily.
Well, I'm painting the picture as to why this would be a scenario why a guy like Barry or another NHL coach would do it because of his circumstances. I understand where you're coming from, not just anybody. So I was like, what's this going to mean for the kid? And he comes back out and he plays the rest of the game. So I guess Barry looked at it where he's playing so well, he's got to keep him in the lineup. But that was the turning point of that game. You can yell at Varlamov all you want, and I even give him a break on the overtime goal because it got deflected on the way in. He thought it was going one way, it goes the other way. I have a buddy of mine's like, Varley's got to have that. I was like, he thought it was going in another direction. I don't know what to tell you. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that because I just
clearly something that bothered you.
Well, you look at the season that this guy has had, and you talk about all the guys who were praising right now, right, for finally coming around and putting up points and scoring goals. That wasn't happening not too long ago. And guess who was bailing those guys out? Semyon Varlamov.
Yeah.
So maybe he's up. The guy's having like a near Vezina season right now. He's had he's tied for the lead in the shutouts, right? He's got 3 shutouts.
Yeah,
already.
Which been insane. He's been
phenomenal.
And especially those games.
He's not the reason they lost on Saturday.
Those games came when the Islanders were really relying on one line to score all of their goals.
That's my point.
So, I know, I see what you're saying. I just guess I didn't really pay that much attention to.
Well, get it together, man.
No, I paid attention to the game. I didn't pay attention to the sort of nonsense that happens every once in a while outside of the game.
Okay.
The reaction, the sort of knee-jerk reaction to different events.
Well, that's Islander country, man.
Well, I think that's every fan base.
So I just wanted to touch on that. Give the guy a break. He's been lights out for the most part this season.
This is like your leave Brittany alone moment right here.
I guess it is in a weird way, I suppose. I'm just not crying, only on the inside.
No, you were very fired up about that.
Well, you know what? I felt like it was something worth addressing, and here we are.
Very clearly.
Here we are. Hopefully, the listeners out there agree.
No. I think most, again, I think it was something I said last week, 2 weeks ago, where I said I think most people understand the circumstances of what's going on, and then you kind of have that vocal minority that, feels the need or the desire or whatever the case may be to bring that out on Twitter, and that kind of takes up most of the space where it seems like everybody's feeling that way when in reality maybe it's just a small group of people. So that's maybe why I don't pay it as much mind as you did there, because you were very, very, very defensive of Varley.
I feel the guy deserves a little defense.
No, I can see that. I can very clearly see that.
Like
I don't think anyone's denying you feel that
Christian,
way, Sean.
I've slept fine since that night.
I don't know.
I'm just saying.
This is like last week all over again.
Once again, I think you're just building this stuff up, man. I think you are.
No, Sean, it's okay.
I'm all right. I'm all right.
This is a weekly therapy session, apparently, from the spots that we run before the show starts.
That's right.
Although I thought we were supposed to be the therapists.
It's therapy,
not
for
the
all
other
of
way
us.
around.
It's self-help. It's helping everyone else. We're helping each other. We're even helping you, Christian. You don't even know it. We're helping you be a better man.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are, Sean. I'm sure you'd like to think that anyway.
Sure. So we already know who they're playing. We talked about it already. You got the Devils tomorrow night.
Yes, sir.
Got 3 games against the Sabres.
Yes, sir.
And so we did this prediction thing last week. You want to give it another go this time? And
let's do it. See how wrong we can be again.
Take it away,
Actually,
pal.
no, we were actually. Well, you were closer than I was.
Of course I was.
You you said 6 of 8 last week?
Yes, I was off by 1.
All right.
Yeah.
This week it's. I'd say 6 of 8.
6 of 8.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to see your 6, and I'm going to raise you 1 to a 7.
You're that guy.
I'm going to go to 7. That's right. That's right. No, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they drop one of those games against Buffalo. Maybe like an overtime.
Yeah.
But look.
Well, that's where the 7 comes in. That's why you would say 7 of 8.
Exactly. We'll take care of the Devils tomorrow, and then they'll take 2 out of 3 against Buffalo. I think, look, you play a team 3 times in a row like that, maybe you'll get caught, in one of those games. And they haven't won a game in overtime yet or a shootout.
Yeah.
When it goes past regulation, it's been bad news.
But it also doesn't go past regulation that often either. I mean, now more recently,
and that's actually one of the nice things for the Islanders. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I think they have the most regulation wins in the division because that's the only time. That's literally the only time they win. And then you have teams like Pittsburgh, teams like Washington that are squeezing out these wins in overtime, and this could end up being a huge factor when we get to May, and it's time to figure out who's playing who.
Yeah. Who's going to even make the playoffs?
Or who gets in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a great point, too, Sean. I hate you saying that. I hate saying that out loud. I love it when you say that. It's an interesting point that should be taken under advisement in a positive note.
Well said, pal.
No, but it's a good point. It's a good point. It's fine. Whatever. I can compliment you.
Wow, I'm so proud. See, you are growing, Christian. See, this is exactly what I was talking about. You're becoming a better man. Your humility is showing. Right? You can compliment others. This is big for you.
I've always
Come on, everybody at home, clap for Christian.
To compliment others. You just make it very hard to compliment you.
I don't know why that would be. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't.
So are we good?
Sounds about right. I don't understand much.
Are we you don't. Are we good here?
You don't.
And we're gonna be back regularly scheduled time next week, right?
Yes, because
it's
the Islanders play
noon game, right?
One I thought 1 p.m. and 1 p.m.
I think it's noon, but it might be 1. Maybe you're right. You're supposed to know.
I mean, it's an hour. It's an hour difference. So
it's in the afternoon.
It's an afternoon.
It's Craft Hockey Day in USA or something like that. Hockey Day in America, Hockeyville. Isn't it like some special day? Am I wrong?
I just want to see you keep going.
Obviously, I'm wrong. So tell me what it is.
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Well, there's some special event tied around this game. They're going to be on NBC. Yes, they got the NBC spot.
I'm looking this up now.
The mighty Sabres against the New York Islanders. Prime time in the afternoon. NBC. Channel 4. Pierre Maguire, probably. Our buddy Sal's favorite.
Well, it'd probably be Kenny Albert. Kenny Albert's now the main voice.
Well,
taking over from friend of the program, Doc Emmerich.
Well, no, Pierre Maguire is the man in the middle, man. He's the man in the booth. He's in between benches. He's not doing the.
No, I meant play by play.
Right.
Kenny Albert is the play-by-play guy.
Okay. We were talking about two different things. And I was right.
No, this is from last year. We're looking this up. If someone in the chat knows, that'd be great.
It's not that important.
Well, now I want to know. I want to either prove you right
We're wasting people's time. The people are watching and listening.
Yeah, people
to this
just
right now.
just waste their time for an hour and 15 minutes. What's another What's another 2 minutes?
I guess when you put it that way.
I try and find
Yeah,
out.
hang around while Christian looks on his laptop. I think we should give this a miss. People can find out themselves. It's not a big deal.
I'm gonna keep looking. You can wrap up the show.
All right, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, want to thank you for tuning in to twitch.tv.
No, Hockey Week in America was February 15th through the 21st.
Okay.
So it's not.
So I'm wrong. I'm
You're
completely wrong.
You're
There's
wrong.
something tied to the game next week. I'm telling you, man. So anyway, want to send a big thanks out to Blue Line Deli and Bagels for sponsoring the show. Located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Head on over for great food, better service, and fantastic people. Check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com for their great selections and hockey-themed heroes, including the Hockey Night in New York. And a big thanks to Tide Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. Check them out at TieTechnology.com. That's TIE Technology.com for all your telecom needs. Or give them a call at 516-856-7800 and get 3 free months of service. That's right, 3 free months of service. Give them a call. Big thanks to Joe Yerdon, Buffalo Sabres insider, for joining us. Awesome spot from him. We got to learn all the tales of woe about the Buffalo Sabres. It is depressing up there. And again, big thanks to you guys for tuning in. If you enjoy the show, please rate, review, and subscribe at your favorite podcast provider. Encourage your friends to follow and watch us on Twitch. Follow Christian at C_Arnold01. Follow myself at Shawnee Hockey on Twitter. Follow the show at Hockey Night NY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'll be back at a regularly scheduled time next week at 8 o'clock on Sunday. Thanks for tuning in. For Christian Arnold, my name is Sean Cuthbert. Have yourselves a great rest of your Monday night. We'll see you next time. You got something to say?
I think it's just an
No,
NBC
there's
game.
totally
It's
something
just an
going
NBC
on.
game.
No, something going on.
I mean,
Yep.
someone said that you were
Nope.
right, but I don't believe it.
Yeah,
I think
see,
it's just an
they
NBC
said I was right because, and we stayed in the hero that screamed the whole time.